The Porsche Rapper Racing Club Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain is getting towards crunch time. We've got 3 more race weekends to go, and the first of them comes here from Knockhill. It's been a little bit of a late change to the calendar, but Knockhill is our venue then for this anti-penultimate brace of races, and it is going to be action. It is, as ever, of course, a totally accurate representation of Knockhill, except for the fact that it's dry and sunny, whereas Knockhill occasionally can be a little bit wet and cold and drizzly. But hey, we're in for some good racing, that is for sure. David Addison and Paul Smith looking forward to what is going to be, I'm sure, exciting racing. We know it's a circuit, Paul, that always you've got to be a good qualifier at, you've got to be a brave racer at. Oddly, though, it's not been the most popular choice for some of the drivers. There've been 1 or 2 grumbles in the Discord channel that, oh, do we have to have Knockhill? But at least it's dry for them.
Yeah, it is dry for them, and they raced here last season, so they know the majority of the field know what it's like to race these cars around here. I think it's the consistency that you need around here. You have to be absolutely spot on, especially through the chicane, because the cars do take off through that chicane here today. So you've got to be so consistent around here, and I think that's where a few of the drivers might be grumbling.
Now, we'll talk more about the championship in a moment or two, about this consistency word. He's going to come back into the conversation, no doubt. Let's just remind you how it all works. We have qualifying to come in under a minute's time, followed by the first race, 25 minutes, based on the qualifying order. Then there's a quick break and a 3-minute warm-up, followed by race 2 with the top 8 finishers from race 1 reversed. And because race 2 has the reverse grid, the pro category has a slightly lesser points tally awarded to it. You get 12 for the win in the opening race from qualifying. You also get 2 points for pole, of course, which is going to be important. And those points for pole are per class. The classes, well, there's pro, which is being led by Sebastian Joe by 20 points. And there's AM, where Aidan Walsingham is the leader by just 4 points. So it is very close indeed. Championship points we'll look at in a second. Let's just remind you that we've done Silverstone and Snetterton, Thruxton, Alton Park. Air miles were afforded at Zandvoort for our away race. And now we've headed north of the border to Knockhill. We have Donington next time out. And mental note, everybody, it is an hour later broadcast time than normal, for reasons I won't bore you with. And then Brands Hatch on Easter Sunday is going to round out the championship. So we've got, as I say, 3 race weekends to go. And in pro, Sebastian Joe, consistency, Paul, banks points, takes wins, takes pole positions where he can, and he's 20 points up on Luke McEwen and Leo Gariboli. Pete Berryman 4th, Will Chadwick 5th, Matt Caruana 6th. But Sebastian Jobe, even now, he's going to take some stopping.
Yeah, this is getting to crunch time, and if you're Luke McEwen, you need to start getting good results ahead of Sebastian, again, consistently. You need to do it every week now for the rest of the season to have any hope of getting that championship in pro.
Now, AM has been a lot more competitive, really, hasn't it? Where you've had different winners. Tom Stevens has had a victory. Christian Scheruter has had a couple. Guy Edwards has had a couple. And Aidan Walsingham, who is new to the championship this year, has now had 4 victories. And he is 4 points up ahead of Guy Edwards and Christian Scheruter, because they are tied on points. Whereas Tom Stevens, who, as I say, has been victorious this year, he missed the last event at Zandvoort. So he's fallen quite a long way back in the championship and could be caught by Daniel Cofield and indeed by Scott Mokes. But yeah, ultra competitive. And it's interesting, isn't it, to see how it's developed this year after Luke Pennington rather dominated it last season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've got the split absolutely spot on here this season between the pro and the AM, and it has worked out nicely. Interesting note with that AM, Christian Scheruter, Guy Edwards and Aidan Walsingham have all done the double at a race weekend this season. So they've all had those circuits that they've got strengths at compared to others. So it'll be interesting to see how we go here with Knockhill. As you mentioned, very tricky track, and these laps will just come thick and fast here in qualifying.
Well, on the subject of here we go, qualifying is already underway, and they've done an outlap, so we're now starting to look at times. And Charles Rainford, who has had oodles of bad luck and absolutely no good luck whatsoever, having been out in his touring car testing at Brands Hatch on Friday, back into a virtual Porsche, and he has done the target time as somebody gets very, very wide ahead of him. Was that Luke Pennington possibly? Either way, Charles Rainford gets by. Luke Pennington, having dropped a wheel in the gravel, lets him go. Charles Rainford ahead of David Williams at the moment by 37 thousandths of a second. But again, there's a lot of qualifying session to go. You can get a lot of laps in around Knockhill. David Williams, another driver, Paul, coming back this weekend, having missed Zandvoort.
Yeah, David, I think he'll be honest with himself and say that it's not been to the standard that he would normally expect of himself. This is a driver who has raced at the very top in iRacing championships, not just in the Grand Prix World Championship when that was around, but also in the Porsche Esports Super Cup. So he is somebody who knows what it's like to be at the top level of sim racing, but he is on the grid here, one of the elder statesmen in his early 30s. Believe it
Crikey.
or not.
What that makes us, Lord knows. Right, so Pete Berryman then, who's got this really interesting track guide you can have a look at for each event on Instagram. Whoops, big drama there. Will Chadwick, 88, getting into the side of...
Is that
Luke Pennington?
Williams.
It was Williams. It was David Williams. You're right. So Will Chadwick, who was out in real world racing last week in the Mazda MX-5 Championship in which he races, I'm afraid was a bit overly committed there. And what has that done to the qualifying session for Will Chadwick? He's 7th at the moment. We've yet to get a lap time really out of Luke McEwen and Sebastian Joe, but they'll no doubt appear at the top or near the top of the times before too long. Aidan Walsingham is not only the quickest AM, he's actually 2nd overall. How about that?
And look at him. He's playing this smart as Aidan. Everybody else is all crowded together on the track, whereas Aidan's got a nice clear track in front of him. Nobody is slowing him down here, whereas we saw just a minute ago Chadwick and Williams getting together. They're all tripping over each other in that big pack. Get yourself a bit of space, and Aidan's exactly that.
Yeah, impressive stuff, although he's just dropped back 1 place overall. Sebastian Job's gone 2nd. Aidan Walsingham's about to have a big spin, though, coming out of the chicane. And around he goes. So I'm afraid that was a big Code Brown moment for Aidan Walsingham. Tars flat spotted. He will press whichever button he needs and then get back into the session. He is still fastest in class, even though he's being elbowed back down the order. Now, Pete Berryman, fastest by 57 thousandths from Alex Davidson, who is 2nd. Sebastian Job is 3rd. Crofton Woodhatch 4th. And Aidan Walsingham is down to 5th. 1 or 2 light Sebastian Job, getting out of the way of the quicker cars at the hairpin. Knockhill, of course, was on the calendar last year. Not everybody in this year's championship was in last year's. So if you did race here last year, Paul, big advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. Experience is key around here, and there's some drivers who've never turned laps around this track, and quite frankly, I don't understand why, because it's a fantastic track to actually race around. Yes, it's difficult, but you can overtake around here. The run, if you get a good run out of that chicane, you can really make a move here into the right-hander at Clark. So there are places to overtake around here. Into Taylor's is another one as well.
Oh, if you want to know how to do it, find on YouTube the Real World Carrera Cup 2nd race from 2020. Harry King, from the back of the grid, came through to win it. Bearing in mind that you can't overtake at Knockhill, said some of the people, and you can never win from the back of the grid, said others. Well, Harry King proved how you can do it. He was on 2 wheels, he was on the curb, it was acrobatic, but it can be done. Improvements coming. Charles Rainford up to 7th again. Leo Garibaldi now going 4th. Tom Stevens up to 16th. Sebastian Joe is 2nd at the moment. It is Luke McEwen who is the fastest. Now, he's not had a pole position this year. He could do with the 2 points as another one exits stage left, gets out of the way. But yeah, Luke McEwen, 2 points here would be really useful for him.
It would, and it stops Sebastian Job from getting those 2 points as well. So it's a double-edged sword for him to be able to try and do that. Now look at this, Leo Garibaldi is setting himself up for a flying lap, and you take that really wide line into Taylor's.
So just over 3 minutes of qualifying still to go. Leo Garibaldi at the moment is 4th. That last lap was a 48.359, so he's a 10th down on pole. He's 82 thousandths down on Pete Berryman. But to go back to the point he made about Walsingham, look, he has got the road to himself.
Yeah, exactly. He's got himself a nice space, and again, you've still got people tripping over each other further down. I would be just pulling over to one side, find myself a space out there, there will be people having teammates in their ears over Discord saying, look, this is where you've got the gap. And again, Garibaldi must have made an error on that lap because he set himself up for the start of this lap.
And also keep an eye on Am. Aidan Walsingham is still quickest, 2 points on offer there. But not only is he down to 12th overall, he's only 54 thousandths of a second quicker now than Guy Edwards. Leo Garibaldi there having leapt over the curb, 4th quickest, up to 2nd again with a better lap time goes Pete Berryman. So at the moment, Sebastian Jobe is, in quotes, only 3rd. But Will Chadwick is only 14th. He's got to pull something out of the bag, hasn't he?
It certainly does. David Williams up to 5th. Isaac Price, who we've seen is not been getting to the speed of this car, certainly finding speed around here, 6th place. That's a much better qualifying for him. Gary Burley must be happy with this lap. He's taking the tighter line through Taylor's. What's he going to do across the line here?
Let's have a look. 4th at the start of it then. Comes up, aiming for a 46.9. And the lap time that he does is a 47.224. So it's a personal best, but it's not good enough to move him up the order. I wonder whether David Williams or Isaac Price can find anything in the bag. You've got Isaac Price having been on the podium at Alton Park, 3rd in race 2. 2 retirements at Zandvoort. Really, really bad day at the office for him. Luke Pennington here is 11th. Launches himself over the curb, and that puts him in the gravel on the exit of the corner. But he buries his foot, drags the car out the other side.
That should have invalidated his lap going into the gravel that much. And for those of you new to iRacing, if you go off track, it will give you 1 incident point, which in qualifying invalidates your lap. Important for these drivers now, because look at the clock. It's counting down. We're into the last minute round about now. It's about a 47-second lap around here, so you need to cross the line with at least 49 seconds to give you that assurance that you can finish your lap here.
And again, I know we talk about this every qualifying session, but it's worth reinforcing the point. You don't finish the lap at the end of the session. Qualifying finishes when the time runs out. If you're halfway around a lap, hard luck. Your lap ends there and then, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And there, Price, big mistake through the chicane. That's cost him, and he won't get to start another lap. Leo Garibaldi, he's pushing on, though, because McEwen and Berryman, they're both in the pits right now.
Yeah, Sebastian Jobe is still out on track. Now, you never rule him out, do you? This is Leo Garibaldi. He has got to find about a 10th of a second to get himself up ahead of Sebastian Jobe. He goes over the line. It is a 47.158, so he stays 4th. He's in the mix, and Jobe pits. So Sebastian Jobe is going to be on the 2nd row, and he gives away 2 points here to Luke McEwen. So effectively, he's 18 ahead now going into the first race. Interesting qualifying session, that's for sure. So let's have a look at how they're going to line up then. It is Luke McEwen on pole position from Pete Berryman alongside. It is Sebastian Jobe starting 3rd and Leo Garibaldi 4th ahead of David Williams and Alex Davidson. 2 other drivers you shouldn't rule out ahead of Will Chadwick up to 7th at the end. Isaac Price was 8th. Crofton Woodhatch down to 9th at the flag, and Matt Caruana 10th ahead of poor old Charles Rainford, who again got elbowed back as the session wore on, and then Luke Pennington. Jacob Tofts comes next ahead of Am pole winner Aidan Walsingham. His rival Guy Edwards is next with Gareth Higgins alongside him. Daniel Cofield and Christian Chiruta from Am round out the top 18. 19th on the grid, it's Tom Stevens ahead of Sam Fitzpatrick, then Scott Mokes and Adam Cox to round out the order. Nice jumble grid this, I think, as we get ready to go racing. And Sebastian Jobe potentially will say to you at the end of the day, well, you know, it doesn't matter, it's only a couple of points for qualifying, but he knows it would be better to start ahead of everybody.
I mean, he's got a 20, well, now, as you say, 18-point lead effectively. If Luke McEwen could just keep on chipping away at that, we've got, what, 6 races to go in this championship. That's plenty of time to get yourself right into a championship hunt. But it's Luke McEwen who needs to do this now. Pete Berryman, he's out of the championship fight, in my opinion. So that means, really, if you're the Apex Racing team, you're wanting Pete and also Leo Garibaldi, who's in the Academy car. They'll be wanting them 2 drivers to help support Luke in trying to get that championship over Sebastian.
True enough, as you look at Leo Garibaldi then, who is good to go for the Apex Racing team. And everybody, I think, has now gridded. It is a 25-minute race, and that, remember, is a lot of laps around Knockhill. we're ready to go, I think, with that run down towards Duffers Dip, the first pinch point of the lap. So everybody now focusing on the lights as we get set for race 1 at a sunny Knockhill in the Porsche Rafa Racing Club Esports Carrera Cup, Great Britain. 32 laps the expectation.
Green flag, green flag.
And we are good to go. Blast off, good getaway by McEwen then. Is it good enough? Yes, it is. He's going to stay ahead of Berryman. And what about third place? Leo Garibaldi gets ahead of Sebastian Job. And I think also David Williams tries to squeeze past Job. Didn't work for him. Sebastian fourth as they drop downhill for the first time. Got one into the gravel. Was that possibly David Williams as they come then now up through Leslie's on towards McIntyre's, the chicane for the first time. McEwen leads, and look, Paul, really good first 3 or 4 corners. He's getting away from Berryman, who is the cork in the bottle, holding up the rest.
You were absolutely right in calling it. It was David Williams who was off, so he had got a nose ahead of Sebastian going into Duffers Dip. It's what happened between them over the top of that rise downhill, and already we're at the end of the first lap. Thick and fast these laps are coming. This is fantastic, but Garibaldi is the first one that Job needs to get past, but not a good start, not a good launch from Sebastian at the start of this race.
No, but here he's in danger, isn't he, of getting caught up in a battle he doesn't need to be in. Not only is he trying to attack, he's under attack. So yeah, okay, he wants to make progress, but look, as Leo Garibaldi fends him off, both of the Apex cars have disappeared up the road, and Sebastian Job is under attack from Alex Davidson, who isn't really in the championship hunt. So he's nothing to lose. He just wants good results. Getting a replay of how David Williams lost it. That was cold tyres, wasn't it? And the back tried to overtake the front. He's still in the race. That was the secondary moment that he had. The car got back on the track and sort of bit, but speared him off, fired him off once again. So David Williams a long, long way back as the leaders come through to end 2 laps, and Luke McEwen is looking very, very strong indeed up front right now.
Yeah, I would imagine that Alex Simpson, the Apex Racing Team boss, will have been sat everybody down before the start of this event and just said, right, let's look at the priority here. The priority is Luke McEwen trying to get the championship over Sebastian Job. The Apex Racing Team have won this championship in the past with Kevin Ellis Jr., who's no longer with their team now, but they have done it as that's Caruana going off, going a bit of rallycross there.
Yeah, big costly mistake that, isn't it, I'm afraid, for Matt, because it's going to drop him a long, long way down the order. Alex Davidson may have a problem as well because he's also dropping time. You can see losing places. He was running within that leading quintet last time around. As the leaders come through now to start lap number 4, and Luke McEwen is still clear of Pete Berryman by very nearly a full second now. Leo Garibaldi in 3rd place, fending off Sebastian Job for the moment. They're close. Up into 5th place now is Will Chadwick. Now that's pretty decent progress, isn't it, from Chadwick, who found himself, 7th on the grid. So he's getting himself up the order as best he can, and we know that Will is a very quick driver. He's not done yet.
Charles Rainford has had a really good start as well. Started 11th, up to 7th, so good going from Charles to start with here. I hope I've not just given him the curse of the commentator, as I seem to have the strongest strain of commentator's curse in the last few weeks.
I did wonder whether we really ought to mention it, because every time you say anything, not you, one, says anything nice about Charles Rainford, circumstances go against the poor bloke. But you're right, he has done a very good job early doors in this race, and so actually is Crofton Woodhatch. I know he raced here last year, but Crofton going nicely. Charles Rainford, of course, has raced here in Real World Carrera Cup with great success. There he is, number 91. It's going to seem very, very strange in a month or so's time to be associating him with a different brand after all these years of Porsche racing. Charles Rainford. Matt Caruana 9th after his moment. Jacob Toft's another one to watch. And in AM, Aidan Walsingham is ahead of Guy Edwards then. So the two of them fighting for the championship are fighting for the category win on track as well.
Yeah, and they're pretty much together. And Walsingham's looking at the back of Toft's. Now, is he what the Toft's car looks very used at the back end there. Has obviously had some front to rear contact made to him. But Walsingham, I think he's wanting to get Toft's between him and Edwards just to give him that little bit of a buffer between the two protagonists.
we talk about this every round, it feels like, as well, whether or not the AMs need to be racing with the pros, because, yeah, okay, it's a battle they don't need, but if you can protect your position with somebody in a different class, it does make life that little bit easier. So right now, Aidan Walsingham is trying to stretch that margin. He's been a real asset to the championship this year, hasn't he, Aidan? He's taken to these virtual Porsche 911 GT3 Cups like a virtual duck to virtual water, and has, as we've been saying, had a really good season with these 4 wins.
I think we need to stop talking about water between me and you for what we've experienced in the last few days. But yeah, he's been so good in the AM Championship. But as I say, I think that the organisers should be commended for getting that pro and AM split absolutely spot on, because you look at how competitive AM is right now. It's by far the closer championship. It's just that we keep on looking at the front of the field because you've got some really big names in the world of sim racing fighting for that pro championship.
Scott Mopes further back, leaping over the curb. And he's got a bit of work to do in class, but you can see he's riding shotgun. He's absolutely on the back of the traffic there. Scott Mopes accelerates then down towards the hairpin. Adam Cox just ahead of him. Battles everywhere you look. David Williams, after his gravelly first lap, struggling to make progress, 19th. And Christian Scheruter, 18th ahead of him. You normally expect to find Christian higher up the order than that, don't you?
Yeah, and I just spoke to Christian. I interviewed him after a round of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Esports Championship. And he said that it has just been a real step up, has this championship in the abilities of drivers in this championship. So it's really been a test for him, but he's one that he's been really enjoying. Will Chadwick and Crofton Woodhatch, they're suddenly together. So Chadwick was on the tail of Sebastian Joe, but he's dropped back. I wonder if he ended up cutting a corner and getting a slowdown penalty.
May well have been. Chadwick then goes through 5th, Woodhatch 6th, Rainford 7th, Price 8th. And Luke McEwen still looking good. Remember, he's on for 12 points for the win and the 2 for pole position, fastest lap in qualifying. Whereas at the moment, Sebastian Jobe is only on for 6 points. So this is going to really tighten things up in the championship, assuming things stay as they are.
And how often have we said that, David? And then something dramatic happens. It's this championship. It's so competitive, and we keep on seeing these great drivers fighting it out. And speaking of fighting it out, Luke Pennington and Guy Edwards have swapped position. This is David Williams and Christian Scheruter as well. So those two switching positions. It's been a challenge for David after such a good qualifying session for him. Cold tyres just catching him out.
Indeed so, as there you can see, Scott Mopes on the attack, number 7. So the race leaders have gone on to lap number 10. Some rather crude maths would suggest that if things stay as they are, Luke McEwen is going to halve that championship lead of Sebastian Jobes in one qualifying session and one race, and that would be a really, really important result.
But we've got to remember that inverted grid, don't we?
Yeah.
Race number 2, okay, you don't have as many points for the win. As we're having a look on a replay here, this is David Williams, so Christian Scheruter ahead, and David's look just goes from bad to worse.
It does. Christian Scheruter all over the grass as well. Trying to camouflage his car, I think, Christian, isn't he? There's a green-fronted car on the grass. We can still see it, Christian. So they've got back into the race. But yeah, David Williams must be thinking, do I carry on with this? Because he, as you said earlier, can't fight for the championship, and he can't even fight for a decent result in either race now. He's going to be a long way back on the grid for race 2. 8th at the moment. If you're wondering why there's that green line on the timing tower on the graphic, that is to just make the point about who is eligible for that reverse grid draw or the reverse grid top 8 for race 2. Sebastian Jobe, in the meantime, is now absolutely on his toes. He wants 3rd away from Leo Garibaldi coming down on the hairpin. He's got right up behind, sorry, from 4th place he wants from Will Chadwick. He has lost a place, you're right. So Will Chadwick it is that's gone past him. Right, this makes the championship even more fascinating.
I think Sebastian's made a mistake at the chicane. We talked about consistency around this track, and I think Sebastian made a mistake at the chicane. That's allowed Will Chadwick to go through, and we've seen how aggressive Will is this season. He's really picked up that aggression compared to last season. And, again, Job doesn't look comfortable through that chicane right now. And at the front, look, McEwen's under pressure from his teammate.
Yeah, that wasn't in the script, was it? But Sebastian Job under attack from Crofton Woodhatch, who, again, is one of those drivers who just wants a decent result, not thinking points, not thinking championship. But look, Job's got them all stacked up behind him. Woodhatch goes wide. Rainford up the inside and goes blasting through. So Charles Rainford up into the top 6, and he now comes up to have a go at Sebastian Job, who to the eye is falling away from that battle pack ahead. Does he have a problem?
Could well be. He could well have had a curb strike and just affected the geometry of the suspension, something like that, perhaps, because they are attacking these curbs really hard, especially over here through the chicane. Down that Bramham straight, and he just doesn't look comfortable right now, does Sebastian, through that chicane. And let's not forget as well, every driver has got exactly the same setup. It's a fixed setup championship, so there's the only individual tweak that you can make is to the brake bias.
But what's interesting is how many there are. Look, in this queue, Isaac Price getting himself up the order as well. He's put himself up past Alex Davidson now. But look, Sebastian Job falling away from the train ahead. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 effectively now bearing down on him. So it is conceivable, because we're not really at halfway yet, that Sebastian Job will drop further back in the pack. The one salvation for him, were he to lose more places, is that he might find himself on pole for race 2.
I don't think we'll quite make it to 32 laps. We're about 14 minutes remaining in this race. So, yeah, I think that's more of a maximum amount of laps that we could possibly get, but I don't think we'll quite make it to that full 32 laps.
Okay, let's see what the pace of Luke McEwen offers then, as there is Alex Davidson going through 9th ahead of Isaac Price. So right now, Matt Caruana would be the man on pole for race number 2. And in AM, it's still Aidan Walsingham ahead, Guy Edwards 2nd, Daniel Cofield currently 3rd in the AM class.
Yeah, we've barely talked about the AM class, have we? It's been really competitive, you know. Aidan Walsingham, Guy Edwards still together. Cofield's not quite able to sit with them. When you think of Cofield's season as well, he's there in 5th place in the championship, not had a win yet this season. Again, he's one of those drivers who appears to have got into incidents throughout these races, but it's so difficult for the AM drivers. When you're in that mid-pack, there's very little room to move, and it can get a bit physical, shall we say.
So Luke McEwen, race leader, comes through. He is on to lap number 16 now, just under 13 minutes to go. Pete Berryman 2nd, and although you were quite right in saying they were pretty much nose to tail, the gap is now nearly 2 seconds. So suggesting that either team orders have come into play or Pete Berryman has had a moment somewhere. Now, Sebastian Job keeping Charles Rainford at bay. But while he's defending, look how much time Sebastian has lost. He's still running 5th, but he's giving away a whole heap of points to Luke McEwen in this race, and a big lose there for number 30 of Adam Cox, who goes all the way around on the inside of the hairpin and blasts away. But not a great race, sadly, for Adam.
I genuinely think Charles Rainford has got the pace of Sebastian here right now. 12 minutes remaining in this race. I do think that he has got the pace of Sebastian. Sebastian just does not look comfortable. And you got to remember with these teams like the Oracle Red Bull sim racing team, they are splitting their time amongst multiple championships, and you're limited with the amount of practice that you can maybe make in certain series, and we might be seeing that pan out here today. Maybe Sebastian's not quite had the time to be able to put in the laps.
Maybe so, and Charles Rainford right there behind him as they accelerate their way now out of the hairpin. So it is Luke McEwen in the race lead onto lap 18, 2 seconds clear now. Pete Berryman, he's getting away all the time. Leo Gariboli in 3rd place, and then in 4th, Will Chadwick. So by Will's sort of normally energetic standards, he's been under the radar a little bit in this race. He's quietly got on with the job, chipped his way up from a okay qualifying. He's had a win this year, don't forget, as well. 5th is Job, and 6th is Charles Rainford. Now, Charles' best result has been a 4th, but a top 6 finish would be another good outcome for him in this after a tough season.
Yeah, I think it's a real positive. I think Charles will be chomping at the bit, though, thinking I've got one more spot in me here at a minimum. But, you know, when you're competing against the current reigning Super Cup champion in Sebastian Job and the reigning Carrera Cup GB champion in Sebastian Job, getting to compete with him and being at that level must be a real boon for Charles to show that, hey, I can do this in the sim as well.
Interesting, though, as well, that Croft and Woodhatch has dropped off the back just a little bit. 7th last time out at Zandvoort, Crofton, and he's 7th again here, but he's not quite on the back of Rain, but he's closing up a little bit now that we've latched onto that, in fact, as they come now up through Clark's, but taking with him Matt Caruana. So Caruana and Woodhatch potentially the front row for the second race.
Yeah, we've not really mentioned that, have we, about the grid inversion and Caruana. It certainly has been an interesting season for him. Got that good result last time out, don't forget, at Zandvoort. Second place in the second race, so he'll be looking to maybe make it another second race where he gets a podium finish for Matt.
Lots of air taken by Sebastian Job then as he bounces through the chicane. The next 2 races are going to be at Donington in 2 weeks' time. And bear in mind that at the end of April, the real world Carrera Cup GB begins at Donington, April 27-28 weekend. You'll be able to see all of the Sunday race action live on ITV4, and there'll be Porsche Sprint Challenge as well as Carrera Cup Great Britain, both looking for really, really competitive seasons. Talking competitive, Christian Chiruta versus Scott Moakes here. Christian a long way back after his moment at Duffer's Dip, and he really is under pressure.
Yeah, look at this. Scott's giving it everything. Christian Chiruta, challenging race for Christian. He's trying to just get whatever he can out of this race as Scott. trying the cut under, but Christian had that cut off there. So well done, Christian, for holding your apex.
Sounds like a new band, doesn't it? Christian in the Apex. So down he comes out of Duffer's Dip.
I heard the John Peel session.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. It's exactly the sort of band that John Peel would have had. Yeah, you hear them on Six Music. Bouncing over the curb. Now comes Christian Chiruta. I think his car did pick up a bit of damage, didn't it, in that clash with David Williams, because he's not been able to get back up with his regular class rivals, and he's having to work very, very hard indeed to keep here Scott Moakes at bay. Normally, with respect to Scott, Christian's a bit further up the road. Now, they are nose to tail. Bear in mind, this is for 20th place, and it's one of the fiercest fights on track. We're into the last 8 minutes of race 1 here.
Oh, this has flown by, and it still reckons we've got another 10 laps at the line as well, so the laps coming thick and fast around here. You're talking about a 47.1 from Luke McEwen as being the fastest lap right now in this race, so it's an incredible pace that they have around this Scottish venue.
Yeah, you think 32 laps if we are going to get to that. Gosh, that's going to be a long race, but you're absolutely right, it absolutely flies by. Cars fly through the chicane as well. You've seen how airborne they get. Scott Moakes then lines up to attack Christian Chiruta on the way down to the hairpin, but he's too far back really for that to be a realistic challenge. Another fight going on. There they are, out of the hairpin. Behind them, bear in mind, at the very, very back of the order is Adam Cox, who was delayed early on. But in fairness to Adam, he has also persevered after that spin. He's not bailed out of the race. David Williams, yes, it's a race to forget, but he is still in the race. He's in 19th place.
These two absolutely neck and neck. You can't separate them. I think the race for 8th place, Alex Davidson, you think he's dropped down the order. He's on a bit of a charge back. He'll want to sneak into that 8th place and make it a WSR Esports 1 and 2 on the grid for the second race.
He will indeed, and there he is there, number 5, Alexander Davidson. Alex Davidson going down through Duffer's Dip. The green and pink car ahead of him is that of Matt Caruana. Let's go on board with Alex Davidson now, heading up towards the chicane. The floppy markers are dispensed with. He's all up the curb. He runs a little bit wide, and that costs him a bit of time.
You could see just how the car unsettled over the second part of the chicane, and he just had to get out of it to save it, and that's cost him dearly. Oh, it's cost him all of 3 or 4 tenths of a second, but around here with how tight this group is, that's a big margin.
It is indeed, isn't it? But he might be able to regroup in as much as Matt Caruana is stuck behind Croft and Woodhatch, so he sort of isn't going anywhere. Okay, he'd like another place, but he's probably mindful that it's difficult to get past, and he's in the box seat for race 2. But there's a little bit of clear air ahead of Davidson, so he's going to get back onto the tail of Matt Caruana. But then he's got to make sure he's absolutely error-free for 5.5 minutes and try and piece together the attack.
And let's not forget as well, it's unseasonably warm as the track temperature, 34 degrees Celsius. I'm not used to seeing that at this venue. And these drivers, they are hammering these cars and hammering the curbs, and they're putting a lot of forces through those tyres. So this last 5 minutes, that's usually where we see those that can, a bit more of a tyre whisperer come to the fore.
Yes, it's unseasonably warm at Knockhill. There's no minus sign in front of the temperature. Down they come into Duffers Dip then, into the last 5 minutes. Look how Davidson's got back onto the tail of Matt Caruana. So there, Caruana sandwiched between the 2 white cars, Croft and Woodhatch, whose WSR Esports butt kicker entry is ahead, sister car of Alex Davidson behind. And Caruana knows that Davidson is a-coming because he's now on the attack, isn't he, to try to find a way up past Woodhatch. He does not want to get dumped out of the top 8. So while we were looking at Davidson on the attack, now Caruana is on a mission as well. This is going to go down to the wire. Davidson has a look to the inside. Caruana chops his nose off and has a look on the inside of Woodhatch. Doesn't get through. Now, who's 10th? Isaac Price. He might get luck into 8th.
Yeah, I wouldn't write off Isaac through all of this, and he's somebody who's very experienced. He knows what it takes to get the elbows out and use the dark arts of motorsport to find himself up there. But that was a very late chop, wasn't it, from Caruana on Davidson? That was pushing the boundaries, I think, of what would be acceptable.
Yeah, I'm half arguing with myself as to whether it was a chop or whether it was a dive up the inside of Woodhatch at the same time. It was a bit of both, I think. But yes, you're right, it was probably just about treading the boards between acceptable and not. Caruana on the attack again, though, has a look to the inside of Croft and Woodhatch, and that also makes sure there's no way through for Davidson. And Isaac Price, with 3.5 on the clock now, with 1 big full send, he might gain a place or even 2. This is really, really close. Across the line they go. Now look, Charles Rainford has fallen away again, has he not, from Sebastian Jobe. That gap has really opened up markedly over the last 4 or 5 laps.
Yeah, Sebastian's pace is actually faster than that of the race leader. In fact, I believe he's equalled the fastest lap of Peter Berryman right now. They've both done the same lap time last lap of Berryman and Jobe. So I think Jobe's finally just got to the pace of the circuit. And if he finishes 5th, that's going to be a second row start for the second race of the day. So don't write off Sebastian for a win yet in race 2.
Although, at the risk of being picky, he was on the second row for this race and he's gone backwards. So, yeah, you never know. But, yeah, point well made. It is going to be the second row of the grid. Right, 2.5 minutes are on the clock. Race leader is on lap number 29. It ain't going to be far off 32, is it?
Yeah, we're going to be pretty close. Lap 29 now. Yeah, I think we are actually probably going to hit that 32 laps.
Yeah.
It's been a ferocious pace.
Don't argue with the computer. They've got better brains in human beings.
Commentators' maths. You never
This is race 1, Paul. Right, so looking back at the traffic charging along, Alex Davidson coming up on the outside there to have a go at Matt Caruana into the hairpin, and he's left the door open, and Isaac Price tries to get up the inside for 9th place. They're going to be toe-to-toe up towards the timing line. Davidson's got the heavier right foot and stays ahead. We're on to lap 30 now. And we've got time for 2 more laps at the end of it as well, I reckon, as there Davidson drops into Duffers Dip just ahead of Price. Now, what about Jobe catching Chadwick for the end? That ain't going to happen. Luke McEwen, by the way, remember him? We've not seen much of him in the lead for a while. He's 2 seconds clear of his teammate now.
Yeah, absolutely incredible job from, it's going to be lights to flag for Luke McEwen. Okay, it's not quite going to be a Grand Chelem, but still a good effort from Luke to control things from the front. And to be honest, you've got to be in control of your own destiny when it comes to this championship.
So he goes now on to lap 31. and we'll get time for 32 laps. It'll all fit in as the computer predicted, as the game predicted. Isaac Price goes by 10th. That's the frustration, really, isn't it? 9th and 10th. You're so close to being on the front row for that reverse grid race, but you ain't going to be there and you're mired in traffic for race 2. So the pressure, which has been on Isaac and also Alex Davidson for the last few laps, is ever more strenuous now. Out of the chicane, they leap, but Isaac Price loses time there by getting a bit too curb happy.
Yeah, just caught it wrong, and that cost him, although Caruana gets a little bit wide through Clark. You do have that little bit of extra asphalt that's painted green just to allow you a little bit of respite. And you are right, David. I will bow down to our AI overlords, and we get lap 32 underway.
It's as if somebody knew. So through they go, onto the final lap, and Charles Rainford now coming under attack from Crofton Woodhatch. So having been attacking Sebastian Jobe, 10 laps ago, maybe more, now Charles Rainford is in danger of falling back a place, but finding himself on the front row for race 2, because Crofton Woodhatch here is having a red-hot go, no question about it, as the cars come up towards Clark's. Meanwhile, Luke McEwen is on target for a 4th win of the season. Checkered flag at the ready, and Luke McEwen is going to come through to win round 11 then. The checkered flag at the ready. Luke McEwen wins at Knockhill. Pete Berryman is on for 2nd place, and Leo Gariboli should take 3rd as the cars come over the line. 4th goes the way of Will Chadwick. In 5th place, Sebastian Jobe. Charles Rainford is 6th. Crofton Woodhatch is 7th. Matt Caruana hangs on to 8th place ahead of Alex Davidson and Isaac Price. Aidan Walsingham is on target for another win. There he is in AM, and as he goes through, that is a 5th win for him. Brilliant drive by Luke McEwen, and I'm intrigued to know what Sebastian Jobe had as the problem, because that was not very Sebastian Jobe-like, was it?
I've been getting intel for you, David. We'll discuss after the results, but
all right, okay.
Absolutely fantastic, imperious drive from Luke McEwen at the front. He did exactly what he needed to today to help his championship charge.
Absolutely right, and the point standings then are going to be much, much closer between Sebastian and Luke. Now, it was going to be 10 points, and then Sebastian lost another, so I reckon 8 points only between them, having it been 20 coming into the event. Right, let's recap the results. 32 laps were done. Sebastian Jobe, ironically, did get the fastest lap, didn't he? A 47.143, quite late on, lap 27. Luke McEwen, though, takes race honours, win number 4 of the year from Pete Berryman and Leo Gariboli. Will Chadwick 4th ahead of Sebastian Jobe and Charles Rainford. Crofton Woodhatch 7th. Matt Caruana 8th and takes pole for race 2. Alex Davidson 9th, and the top 10 rounded out by Isaac Price. Luke Pennington 11th from Jacob Toft. Then the AM 1, 2, 3. Aidan Walsingham, Guy Edwards, Daniel Cofield ahead of Gareth Higgins. Tom Stevens was 17th and 4th AM ahead of David Williams, who recovered for 18th place from Sam Fitzpatrick, and Christian Chiruta 20th. Christian having a pretty tough race, it must be said, but fending off Scott Mokes and Adam Cox. Right then, a win for Luke McEwen, but Sebastian Jobe, there's a story attached.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you very much to Marcus Soholm, who's got in touch with me. Sebastian is actually racing from Marcus's sim rig. So he's arrived there this morning, had 2 hours of preparation in his in somebody else's sim rig. Now, some people who don't know or are watching this and thinking, well, what's the problem with that? A sim rig is a sim rig. Well, no, it isn't. You have everything. If you're at home or wherever you race from, in an office somewhere, and you have everything dialed in exactly how you want them to be, where things are placed on the rigs, that you're in easy reach of certain functionality, how the wheel feels, everything. You are in tune with that rig. You then go to somebody else's and it just won't feel quite right. Even if they're using the same equipment, something will just not feel right. You won't be in that happy zone. But to see the adaptability of how he was falling off to start the race, but by the end of the race was matching the pace of the leaders.
Matt Caruana, just a quick word about. He recently took part in the JCW scholarship competition. He didn't win it, unfortunately, but somebody else looking to try to break into real-world racing, one of those Project 91 drivers, along with Christian Chiruta and Charles Rainford. Charles, hence the number, 91. So, now, warm-up almost done. There is Charles Rainford good to go, ready for the second race. So we take the top 8, we spin them around, reverse the order, and it's going to be another fascinating 32 laps. And we were saying it in the course of the race, time absolutely flew by, didn't it?
Yeah, that went by in a flash, did that race. It was absolutely fantastic to watch, and it was great stuff from all the drivers. I will say very quickly, Sam Fitzpatrick, who's running as an AM, he's involved with the Apex Racing team, and he had his podcast host colleague, David Sampsoid, giving him a little bit of stick for not supporting Luke McEwen and the rest of the team up at the front of the field.
Oh, but you get to circulate at these parties. You know, it's important to go and mix with others. Let's have a look at the grid then for the second race, based on the results of race 1 with the top 8 reversed. And so Matt Caruana will be on pole position with Crofton Woodhatch with him at the front. Lining up third is going to be Charles Rainford. Sebastian Job is alongside him. And then it's Will Chadwick 5th, Leo Garibaldi 6th, with the top 2 starting 7th and 8th. Pete Berryman on the inside. On the outside of that row is going to be Luke McEwen. That's then the reversal. From there on, the rest of the grid is as they finish. So 9th will be Alex Davidson, and Isaac Price starts 10th ahead of Luke Pennington, and Jacob Tofts lining up alongside him. Aidan Walsingham, yet another AM win, 5 he's had now. He is extending the margin over Guy Edwards in the championship. Guy lines up alongside ahead of Daniel Cofield and then Gareth Higgins. Tom Stevens next on the grid. David Williams, one to watch because he's a long way back, nearly in Edinburgh starting there. Sam Fitzpatrick comes next, Christian Chiruta behind him. Then you've got Scott Mokes and Adam Cox completing the 22-car grid. So then, race 2 almost good to go. The cars will grid up 25 minutes once again. But as far as the championship is concerned, a combination of results, Luke McEwen's race and his qualifying, and Sebastian Job's race and qualifying, have meant that we have a much, much tighter situation in the championship right now.
Be interested to see how Sebastian does get on this second race then, given that information that we've got there. This start as well, it's a really tricky start because it's uphill, but the front row is more or less at the crest of the hill, so they get a much better launch compared to everybody else. Having said that, probably the front row will be there spinning their tyres and everybody else will be going past them, knowing my luck. But certainly they've got the great opportunity, and I think Caruana will have been getting a bit of practice in that warm-up, starting that car.
And Knockhill is like many a circuit these days. Start and finish lines are in different places. Start line, as you can see, at the top of the brow. Finish line is in front of the timekeeper's box at pit in. Right, we're ready to go racing. 25 minutes underway as it is blast off. Matt Caruana makes a good start. Sebastian Job, I reckon, gets mugged off the line there because Will Chadwick's at the inside look, and on the inside line he will go 4th. So Sebastian Job has already dropped 1 spot, and not a great getaway. This is turning out to be a really tough day for the World Championship leader and drama as that Woodhatch who gets turned around. It was, I fear, Charles Rainford was involved in that. And so that's helped Job a little bit, but it has not done anything for poor old Crofton Woodhatch, who was on the front row of the grid.
Will Chadwick had to take to the inside of the chicane as well over the grass, so he'll have had to slow down somewhat to not get a penalty through all of that. Gary Burley is getting overtaken by Luke McEwen. McEwen's right on the tail of Sebastian Job, the two protagonists at it.
If McEwen can get ahead of Sebastian Job, that is absolutely vital for the championship situation as they drop down to Duffer's Dip. Caruana leading there. Charles Rainford is 2nd. 3rd is William Chadwick. 4th, Sebastian Job. Just 5th, Luke McEwen. In 6th, it's Leo Garibaldi. Pete Berryman is 7th. Alex Davidson is 8th. Isaac Price is 9th. And 10th is Aidan Walsingham, leading AM and looking for win number 6.
And what did I say about the AM Championship, the top 3? They'd all had double wins. Oh dear, that was a bit ambitious there, Jacob.
Jacob Tofts getting involved in it, yeah. Digs himself out of the gravel. Yes, courageous, but it didn't pan out, did it, for him? So he tried to go 1 up, but he's fallen down the order. A bit snakes and ladders, this race for Jacob Tofts. Across the line goes then the race leader, Matt Caruana. Now, what can Charles Rainford do about him? The gap is 1.8 seconds after just 2 laps. That's massive.
It is huge. I mean, that contact with Crofton Woodhatch will have given them that bit of a gap anyway. I'd be love to see a replay of that start, but look behind Will Chadwick, because Job has got McEwen all over him right now, and this could be McEwen's opportunity, looking in towards the hairpin.
Let's have a look then, darting around in the mirrors. Chadwick equally wants to get up past Charles Rainford, and while all this is going on, Matt Caruana comes up towards the timing line. So Matt has not yet had a win. He had a second at Zandvoort in the equivalent reverse grid race, but he's just made good his escape, hasn't he? He is storming away. Here's a replay of the start. He boxes off everybody else and gets the line for the corner. And again, look, Sebastian Job just a little bit slow off the line. Lost a place to Chadwick. Now let's see, did Rainford get into Woodhatch? He goes for a gap, gets up the inside, and there's a little brush between them. And there's the contact. Around goes Croft and Woodhatch. That's going to get looked at.
Oh, absolutely. And for anyone wondering that we don't have any stewards' decisions during the event, it all happens post-event here, does this one. So, yeah, the stewards will have a look at that later on. And we've got more replays, and that's a Colander car running wide. Oh, this is what happened between Tofts there, and a little bit of a squeeze, a little bit of a contact, and it's Tofts that comes worse off.
And he has pitted, so Jacob Tofts has now lost 2 laps, so he's effectively out of the race. Meanwhile, Matt Caruana, dominating right now, is clear by a margin of 2.8 seconds from Charles Rainford, who is under attack from Chadwick and Job and McEwen and Gary Bowley. So like we had in race 1, there's a big battle pack developing.
Pete Berryman's dropped off the back of them. He's gone down to 10th, so something happened to Pete out there. Oh, I think we're about to find out what happened to Pete. And it's the chicane. Oh, yeah, he definitely got that chicane wrong. And he finds the rector-cell barrier there, and one of the WSR cars going off at the same time.
Yeah, that might have been Davidson, I think, Alex Davidson. But Matt Caruana is very nearly in the first Donington race. So far up the road is he? He's absolutely blitzed the rest of them. And in fairness, he's going to carry on doing that because Charles Rainford is having to defend, so his lines are slower. And that means that Caruana can just build and build and build on this gap. Look, Job, in the meantime, is having to dart around to defend from Luke McEwen. 4th and 5th, that's the other major battle, not only for the race, but for the championship now.
Yeah, this is great stuff to watch. All these drivers. Do you know what? Thinking of Caruana, as we look at the replay, and yeah, it was Alex Davidson taken to the air out of the gravel trap. And the thing is, with Alex, he'll keep his foot in there as well. He won't be lifted.
That's called a bad air day, isn't it? So Alex Davidson, lots of air underneath the car, launches his way back onto the circuit. It didn't actually hurt him that much. He's still 8th. Could have been a whole lot worse for him. The race leader now, Matt Caruana, is 3 seconds to the good. Charles Rainford, whisper it, could be on for his best finish of the season, but sadly, where Charles has been concerned this year, there's always something lurking around the corner to conspire against him. Look at Job, though. He's dropped off the back of Chadwick now because he's had to go in full defend mode. Luke McEwen pulls out, has a look. Job will know what his fight is now, and it's to keep McEwen at bay. Never mind what's going on up front, just try to outscore McEwen.
Yeah, it's damage limitation here right now, and whatever points he can get back from Luke McEwen in the championship, he will take them, no doubt about that. But yeah, Charles Rainford and Will Chadwick tripping over each other, slowing each other down. I once did a touring car race many years ago when I was actually semi-competitive in sim racing, and it was at Bathurst, and we had a driver, 2nd place, was holding everyone up. And I looked at my mirrors and I looked at the timing, 7-second lead, and where did that come from? I don't know that speed. And it's just the nature of certain tracks. Look at Chadwick now, hyper-aggressive.
All over the back of Rainford like a cheap suit, isn't he now? Job has caught up with him as well, dragging Luke McEwen along. So, in a way, Job doesn't want to get caught up with them because having to attack and defend is bad news. As long as he can defend, that's good. Chadwick thinks about the outside against Charles Rainford, but this concertina now, look, is 4 cars for 2nd, and they're being joined by Price and by Davidson behind. It's all building up. Charles Rainford has the pace to stay ahead, but look how many cars are bearing down on him now, and we've still got 18 minutes to go. We're only on lap number 9.
This is great stuff. It's a really tense race is this one. Aidan Walsingham is in 9th. He's gained another place through the issues that Pete Berryman has had. So there's Chadwick again looking to the inside at Taylor's.
Ooh, contact, I think, possibly there. Chadwick getting into the back of Rainford, and you saw the back of Charles's car wag. And what that serves to do is delay him and bring everybody else closer, so they come pouring over the line. And you've got pretty much 2nd to 8th now, all in a big queue, if not more than that. Yeah, I think Isaac Price goes through, maybe even Aidan Walsingham has closed up now and joined the party. Through goes Davidson, yeah. So 2nd to 9th, all in a queue. And if one driver makes a mistake, that could change in a twinkling.
Speaking of drivers making mistakes, I think Luke McEwen just made a slight mistake. Garibaldi looks, but I think Leo would think better of making that move on Luke, given Luke's championship position right now. But if these drivers carry on tripping over each other like this, we're going to be seeing Matt Caruana lapping them all.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, part of it is down to his pace, part of it is down to the battling going on behind him as Price now comes up to have a go, and he comes across the timing line, moves himself past Alex Davidson. Nicely done for 7th place. Good move. Caruana's advantage is 4.2 seconds. And like Paul was saying earlier, everyone's got the same setup, everybody's got the same car, so that is a huge lead.
It is in this championship, it is just light years between them. Unbelievable stuff. And Christian Zaruta in that AM Championship are getting a little bit bullied there down the order. Wood action, that is not ideal.
Big impact, and that has taken another 2 out of proceedings. Luke Pennington, the first of them to go. And was it Gareth Higgins or Scott Motes that he got involved with? Scott Motes, yeah. So yeah, big impact that. You could kind of see it coming. Car runs wide at the chicane, and it's not straight when it rejoins, and it all goes south from there.
Yeah, it was almost the inevitable, really, situation that we saw there.
We've lost Pete Berryman as well. Sorry to interrupt you, but Pete Berryman has disappeared. He hit the barrier, didn't he? But must have done enough damage to become a retirement. Yeah,
I think he's had to park that. So Apex Racing Team, speaking of them, Job is going all the way over to the driver's right, heading down towards the hairpin again. McEwen's now is starting to pick things up. Business is picking up here.
Absolutely right. So through they come. Caruana goes by. There's Rainford, and Charles Rainford still hanging on to 2nd place. He's 4 seconds back. Chadwick 3rd, and then a small gap has opened up. Having said it was a big freight train a lap or 2 ago, now look, Sebastian Job has fallen away, but he's doing the main job here, which is to outscore Luke McEwen. He's keeping him at bay.
Let's have a look back then. What happened? Oh, and it was a rear ending from Merckx on Pennington. That actually gave Pennington a really good run, and there's contact between Pennington and the car to the left, and Merckx into the wall, bounces across the track, and Pennington nowhere to go in all of that. So, looking at these, it's still, I'll tell you what, Rainford has got the bit between his teeth and has just calmed things down between him and Chadwick. He's been able to pull that 3/4 tenths of a second gap over those two, and David Williams has actually made a move on Aidan Walsingham.
Race leaders then, currently on lap number 14. Sebastian Job, this time around, has really shaken off Luke McEwen. This is Daniel Cofield's view up the inside, gets his nose chopped off there by Sharuta and lost out to Pennington. This is the replay. Pennington then gets that's where it all started. Pennington got tagged by Cofield, and that's why he got into Motes, and Motes cannons off the circuit. Yeah, Daniel Cofield certainly didn't cause it, but he kind of triggered it, didn't he, by that initial brush, and it all went wrong from there.
In our Porsche Club of Great Britain coverage, we have the John Virgo Trick Shot of the Day award.
Yeah, that was a proper snooker thing, wasn't it? Poor old Scott Motes and Luke Pennington. Big impact. I tell you what, you can tell it's race 2 because the list of retirements I've written down is quite a long one. Bearing in mind nobody failed to finish race 1. We've lost 5 already in race 2.
Yeah, it's been a bit more physical here as this one, so definitely a bit more of a challenge. We have had word, by the way, Pete Berryman, it was issues with the internet connection. So yeah, he had made contact with the wall, but that isn't what retired him.
Yeah, we understand Pete Berryman was an internet drama rather than damage to the car. Big shame. But poor LP, he's kind of the bridesmaid of this. It doesn't matter who wins, he always seems to be behind them in second place rather than taking victories himself. But we know that he's quick. Matt Caruana goes through thinking, where is everybody? Because although Charles Rainford is still hanging on to second from Will Chadwick, Matt Caruana now way up the road. Actually, that gap's come down just a touch, hasn't it? From over 4 seconds, it's now 3.6. Charles Rainford is bringing it down. Look, Job goes wide in the background. Luke McEwen thinks about the inside line up to Clark's. There they are, absolutely wheel to wheel. Job is going to be ahead, but McEwen's got the momentum here.
McEwen needs to make this count, and he needs to get that one. Remember, we've talked about it this season already, how McEwen hasn't got the move done over Job in the past as Davidson gets turned around into the hairpin. But yeah, McEwen just has that monkey on his back right now of not getting a move done on Job.
Leo Garibaldi, I think, was the one that got involved with Davidson, and that was also a concern for McEwen, that all of a sudden they were being reeled in by others, and you could see Garibaldi closing up. Look, Davidson goes to the outside. Garibaldi has to get out from behind McEwen, and therefore, as he moves across, touches Davidson's car. Again, not deliberate, one of those things by the look of it, but it's got serious consequences for Alex Davidson, down to 9th. That's his second drama of the race. He's already been off at the chicane. Now he's had a moment, again, not really his fault, at the hairpin.
It's going to have to come through the field once again, is Alex. It's been a testing day for a few of our drivers, but certainly Alex has been in the wars this second race. Now, Luke, if ever there was an opportunity, it's today for him to get one over Sebastian, but Sebastian is placing his car absolutely spot on when he is in trouble.
And equally, Luke McEwen will be thinking, okay, he's outscoring me, but only by a couple of points. And I've had a really good first race and qualifying, so I could afford to sit here. All right, I'm not going to take the championship lead, but I probably wasn't going to anyway. Better to bank than risk going off. You know, it could be a big send that doesn't work out for him. In the background, Leo Garibaldi is getting on his toes to try to fend off a really inspired Isaac Price. There they are. Garibaldi number 89, 99, the rather stealth grey colours adorning the car of Isaac Price, and they're almost overlapping for second. Will Chadwick pulls the pin going over the line. He's going to go around the outside of Charles Rainford, is he? This is really, really brave stuff. Outside at part 1 of Duffer's Dip is the inside for the next, and then as they drop down to Butchers, he's on the outside. It doesn't work. Rainford hangs on to second place. Good racing.
And that's the good point, though. It's good fair racing. Oh, Chadwick makes the mistake through the chicane, and once again the strongest straight of commentator's curse is on sale, and the biggest award of that is for Will Chadwick. But my goodness, he's got the pace as well. It's whether he can actually make the move stick.
But because of that moment putting him wide and delaying him, look what's happened. Not only has Rainford got away, look how much closer Sebastian Job is all of a sudden to Will Chadwick. Job to McEwen as they go through now. That's just under half a second. So Luke has dropped back from where he was, and Sebastian Job all of a sudden can sort of recalculate this race and think, well, I might yet be able to take a top 3 and salvage a few more points. So his race has just changed.
Yeah, it's giving him a new perspective and a new impetus for Sebastian to try and move forward in this one. But again, I don't think Sebastian would be risking too much. He doesn't want to get the ire of the stewards if he gets involved with Will Chadwick. And we've seen Will has, especially at Alton Park, remember, was getting very physical with a few of the Apex Racing Team drivers, if you think back to then. So we know how aggressive Will Chadwick can be, and I think Sebastian knows that in the back of his head and might think, I'll go for a move, but only if it really is on.
Yeah, I mean, we know that Sebastian is a very intelligent driver. That's why he banks points and wins championships. He knows when to hold and when to fold. Luke McEwen, in the meantime, comes through the gap this time up slightly to half a second. So frustrating race for Luke as well. He's had the pace, but he spent most of it, again, staring at the back of that Red Bull liveried car. Sebastian Job, the race 4th place position for him. Championship leader, just. But Luke McEwen, even though we know how good he was in race 1, has not cracked Sebastian Job in this second race.
No, certainly not. And as I said, I've made this point time and again with Luke. he's not been able to get the job done over Sebastian and get a move and get it stick. And I do think that Luke needs that to just mentally know that I can have Sebastian and I can beat him fair and square on track. That was a good run from Luke through the chicane.
Totally agree, and it's brought him back into the mix. Job comes out of Clark through his locks, then together they run onto the hairpin. Chadwick's got away again, so that kind of shows you where the real pace of Job's car is, and it's absolutely not 100%, is it? You know, it's okay, but when you start to get back into a rhythm that's not influenced by a driver making a mistake, Sebastian Job's car is not quick enough to stay with those ahead, and that in turn is bringing a well-fired up Luke McEwen back into the game, and he's got to get on with this. 7 minutes are on the clock.
One of the quickest drivers on track last lap was Charles Rainford, only beaten by Leo Gariboli and Alex Davidson, so it shows that Rainford does have some pace in that car. It's just unfortunate for him, he's been involved in that fighting with Will Chadwick that has dropped them back from Matt Caruana.
Yeah, and in fact, having said the gap was down to about 3.8 between the top two, it's gone north of 4 seconds again. So Matt Caruana has managed to build the gap once more, even though Rainford does have, you're quite right, have good car speed. 6.5 are on the clock, through they come. And Luke McEwen stares at the back of Sebastian Job's car and thinks, how in the wide world of something do I find a way by?
Well, it's certainly one of the widest Porsche 911 992 GT3 Cup cars you could possibly have. Is Sebastian's right now. He's certainly doing a stern job at the front. But look, there's a mistake again from Job through the chicane. This is McEwen's opportunity.
Can't go around the outside, but he's got to start the move for the hairpin now and try and stand his ground. He's got the momentum, but he wants the inside line, and as long as Sebastian Job sits there, he's going to be able to box him out. Down they come into the hairpin. Job has to get the line for the corner. Leo Gariboli is closing right up to them as well in 6th place. I think Job is secure there because he was able to cover off the inside line all the way down to the hairpin. He's regrouped and he stays ahead. And also, of course, by having to defend like that, he's managed to back McEwen almost into Gariboli.
Yeah, but I think McEwen knows that Gariboli is not going to make that move. You know, the Apex Racing Academy car. I know there's no team rule. You're all in it for yourself in this championship, as Rainford and Chadwick are getting close together as well. So that is going to be the fight for the second step of the podium. Chadwick's going for it.
He wants to do what McEwen couldn't do a lap ago, and that's squeeze up the inside coming down to the hairpin. But again, look, Rainford is able to cover off that line. Way up the curb goes Chadwick. He wants to be wide in and tight out, and all he ends up doing is being wide in and dropping back. So Rainford is a bit more secure in 2nd place. He's 5 seconds behind the race leader. Charles Rainford over the timing line. Will Chadwick thinks about the inside, can't go through there. And Job in 4th place is still being chased by McEwen. That gap is back down to 3/10 into the last 5 minutes. This is lap 26 out of an expected, a projected 32.
I think if you're Will Chadwick and Rainford does end up finishing ahead of you, you've got to gift Charles a Wigan kebab at the end of this, and really, you know, the young lad, he's from Wigan. It's either a Wigan kebab or a jar of Uncle Joe's mint balls. It's one of the two, and certainly because Rainford is doing absolutely everything right now in 2nd place.
This is without doubt the best we've seen out of Charles Rainford all year, partly because he's not being biffed about. However, don't forget he did get involved on that first lap with Crofton Woodhatch, so you never know what might be lurking in the system. Let's just park that for a minute. This has been a mighty drive from that moment on.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt. He's putting on a defensive masterclass right now, and certainly showing why he's up there at the front and deserves to be as well. You know, it's not by accident. He's deserving to be in that place. Yes, he got the reverse grid position, which helped him, but he's held on to it and kept faster drivers behind.
That's the 3rd off of the race for Alex Davidson. When it's not your day, it's not your day. Rainford, Chadwick and Job now, and McEwen. And up the inside, out of the hairpin comes Chadwick. Now he gets the run. No, he doesn't, because Charles Rainford moves across and defends. Sebastian Job tries to buy into this as well. He's got to be mindful, though, not of what's ahead, but behind. Where's McEwen in all of this? Not able to find a way up the inside is the answer. They drop down the hill then. Hard on the brakes, down through the gears, coming up through McIntyre's now. The road will climb through Butchers onto the chicane. And actually, having had all of that opportunity at the hairpin, by the time they get to the chicane, Job has fallen back because he's got to defend from McEwen yet again.
You know, all the drivers were complaining about this track beforehand and saying, oh, no, not this track. This is giving us the best race of the season. Yeah. This is absolutely epic, fantastic stuff. And still, Rainford holds on to second. But Chadwick looking to try and get the run out of Taylor's.
2.5 minutes just over remain. Do you want to do the interview with Matt Caruana now? Because he's probably finished. I mean, he's that far ahead. Over the line they go. The lead gap, 6.3 seconds. That's nuts, isn't it? That's just absolutely huge. I've got a feeling that's the biggest winning margin of the championship season. I'll try and check it while we get to the end of the race, but that is quite something for Matt Caruana ahead of Charles Rainford. Will Chadwick in third place then. Joe fourth, McEwen fifth, and Isaac Price into the top six.
Yeah, Isaac's slowly been making his way through the field. It's great to see. And he's attacking Luke McEwen here. McEwen's under pressure. Leo Garibaldi's getting involved in all this. Now, if Garibaldi can hold the inside, they can box out Isaac Price. So close between them. Absolutely sensational stuff.
Mega racing it has been all day, as you say, considering the drivers weren't overly smitten with Knockhill. The racing has certainly delivered, hasn't it? Matt Caruana, though, is the hero of the day thus far, and we've got just over a minute and a half to go, Paul.
Yeah, this is great stuff, and they're launching the car over the chicane, and that's McEwen! Oh, McEwen, the championship rival to Sebastian Job, is around!
Major drama then for Luke McEwen, and that is going to haunt him, isn't it? Because potentially that is the defining moment in the championship. Having done everything right up to that point, it's all gone horribly wrong.
It just shows what happens here at Knockhill. Looking back at it, and he's just clipped the curb wrong, bounced wrong. Isaac Price, heavy contact into the back of him, and he's fortunate that nobody else wiped him out as well.
So Luke McEwen then rues the error, and you're right, I mean, that extra bit of contact certainly didn't help life. Charles Rainford is still trying to defend from Will Chadwick, and they are currently on lap 31. They'll just squeeze one more out of this. Chadwick won at Snetterton by 6.2 seconds, and at the moment the lead gap is 6.6. I think we are going to be on for the biggest winning margin of the year as Job comes out of the hairpin in fourth, right up with them, and Sebastian Job now finally can breathe a sigh of relief, can't he? Because he does not have to worry anymore about Luke McEwen, who is down in ninth.
I think if you're Sebastian, you just give a little bit of breathing space to these two in front, let themselves wipe each other out and take a second place. I think that's what I'm doing if I'm Sebastian right now.
Yeah, you don't get involved, do you? You sit there, sit tight, bank the points. It's been a tough day. And now Job makes a mistake. Runs it wide through the gravel. Now, is that going to lose him any places? That was the moment that Luke McEwen needed to happen. It's happened, but a lap too late. And Job has a charmed life because he's hung on to fourth place. Checkered flag at the ready. Matt Caruana is going to have his first victory of the season and an absolutely outstanding drive. Matt Caruana wins the 12th race of the season in Porsche Rafa Racing Club Esports Cup Great Britain. Charles Rainford takes his best finish of the year, second. Will Chadwick third, and the winning gap of 7.5 seconds is our biggest of the season. Sebastian Job fourth from Isaac Price, and then Leo Garibaldi sixth. David Williams is seventh, and Aidan Walsingham has taken a sixth win in AM. Brilliant performance. We rather overlooked that because of all the dramas that were going on elsewhere, but what a race that turned out to be. Great stuff from beginning to end.
As I said, David, best race of the season. Absolutely brilliant stuff. And you didn't know where to look. There was action aplenty all over. And I will say, Aidan Walsingham now, that's 2 doubles that he's done of race wins in AM. I think that's one of the drives of the day for me.
Charles Rainford comes up to have a little rub with Matt Caruana, which I think is a kind of way of saying, well done, Matt. It's also the first time Charles has seen him in about 25 minutes because Matt has been so far up the road. And there's another little rub between them. Right, let's look at the results then. This is the easy bit for now. Then it goes to race control to have a look at any of the incidents, of which there were many. But Matt Caruana wins from Charles Rainford, and then third, Will Chadwick. Sebastian Jobe fourth, ahead of Isaac Price and Leo Garibaldi sixth. David Williams, we didn't really touch on, but he got seventh in that race. Good effort, bearing in mind that he started a long way back on the grid. Eighth, Aidan Walsingham to win in Am. Luke McEwen ninth, absolutely kicking himself, and Alex Davidson 10th despite 3 offs. The fastest lap going the way of Will Chadwick, that 47.231. Guy Edwards 11th, ahead of Crofton Woodhatch, who got roughed up on the first lap. Then it was Daniel Cofield ahead of Christian Chiruta. Adam Cox 15th, ahead of Sam Fitzpatrick and Tom Stevens. We lost Luke Pennington and Scott Mopes and Gareth Higgins. And they weren't the only ones, because Pete Berryman was out, and so too was Jacob Tofts. More drama in the Carrera Cup GB Esports Championship, and Matt Caruana, after a quite outstanding drive, is our biggest winning margin winner of the year. Over 7.5 seconds clear of Charles Rainford he was. Paul, you've got quite a few drivers to talk to. I'll let you choose.
Yeah, well, we're going to speak race winner from that race. What a Sunday drive it was for you, Matt. Absolutely no worries in that second race.
Yeah, no, I mean, first of all, like, big shout out to Charles for that one. I mean, he made the race there, to be honest. Yeah, I was just trying to keep my head down, put in the laps I needed to, and yeah, the gap just kept building, which was ideal. And Charles did an unreal job in second, holding off everyone. So yeah, massive shout out to everyone.
Certainly, but let's talk about Knockhill. A lot of the drivers, they weren't happy when it got chosen as a venue, but it must be your favourite track in the world now.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest, it isn't my favourite track, but yeah, no, it's gone up in my rankings now after that.
Yeah, certainly. Well, congratulations. A race win after finishing in 8th in the first race. Well done, Matt Caruana.
Cheers, thank you, appreciate it.
So that is our race winner, Matt Caruana, from the second race. The first race overall was won by Luke McEwen, who joins us now. Luke, let's talk the good stuff to start with. You got pole position with your teammate alongside you, and then you're able to control things at the front. Talk us through that first race. How did that go for you?
I guess going into the race, or going into the, event, I hadn't done very, very little practice. Obviously, I'd done the Sebring 12-hour yesterday, so my arms are hurting a lot and stuff like that. I was, not, and the chicane was not really going too well for me. I could hit it like insane, or I crashed. So that was basically how it went. So luckily in quali, I think I hit one clean lap, and that was enough to get pole. So I was very happy with that, a bit relieved, because the second half of that quali session, I was just getting traffic like everywhere and it wasn't good. But yeah, at least obviously only one lap that matters is the fastest lap, so that was good. Then the race, I was really extremely happy, to be honest with it. Not really making too many mistakes. Wasn't pushing like a lot. I could see Pete was closing up on me whenever he kind of went off a little bit, so I was just kind of keeping it chill, and it worked out nicely.
And then the second race, I mean, you were all over the back of Sebastian for the majority of the race. Just how frustrating was it being behind, or was it just a case of keeping your patience and looking for an opportunity? Yeah,
I wouldn't say I was really getting frustrated. Obviously, I could see he was struggling. So obviously wanted to get past. And he kept making a small mistake in the chicane, but it was just not quite big enough for me to get a good run. And obviously he defends very, very well. And for this track, if you defend well, like you're not getting overtaken unless you get crashed into, and I'm not going to do that this year. I did it last year, I'm not going to repeat it. And then obviously I hit like 31 good chicanes, and then the one I don't hit, obviously it sends me around, and it was just really frustrating, because I could see that everyone else was going off quite a lot and I was keeping on track, and then I don't even know how I spun. I just, who knows with that chicane, so it was pretty frustrating.
Well, still, good result for race number 1, though. Congratulations on the pole and the first race win, Luke McEwen.
Thank you.
From Luke McEwen, we're going to speak to our once again, double AM winner in Aidan Walsingham. Aidan, I mean, you're getting the hang of getting a double win here in AM, aren't you?
I don't want to get too comfortable, but it's quite nice.
Well, I mean, that's 4 race wins in a row now in AM. You must be delighted at this opportunity of accumulating some good points in the championship.
Yeah, overall, just really, really happy with it. And it's a lot down to me getting comfortable with the car now and picking the right fights on the track. Learning from some incidents at the start of the season. Some people are quite aggressive. Some people push quite hard in the first laps, and just knowing when to leave space and yeah, just overall just managing risks the right way. And it's paying dividends now, so I'm able to keep out of a lot of drama. And
just 2 more weeks of the championship to go now. Is it a case of just taking it as it comes week by week?
Yeah, I think so. Whilst it's nice to get 4 wins in a row, I absolutely cannot get carried away, because the guy's also showing really strong pace today, and he's not that far behind either, and all it takes is 1 slip up from me and he's right back ahead. So pressure is still absolutely on, and yeah, hoping I can deliver.
Well, congratulations, sir. Another 2 AM wins and a pole position. Congratulations, Aidan Walsingham.
Yes, thank you.
And then from one driver who had a good day, David. We've got him now. Then, David, take it away with our second place driver.
Well, yeah, I get the feeling Charles Rainford and I are going to talk a lot in a touring car paddock this year. But Charles, first of all, welcome to the British Touring Car Championship. But more importantly, well done, because that was a mega race. And second, your best result of the season. Well done.
Yeah, thank you, David. Firstly, thank you for the kind welcome, British Touring Cars. I was out in the car this week, and it's just amazing. It really is. I mean, Porsche set me up so well for it. So looking forward to that. But I think that race there was quite reminiscent, actually, of my victory at Knockhill Race 1 last season, which you ever so kindly commentated on for me.
Yeah, it was a hard fight all the way through that last race, but the first lap, dare I say, was a little, not scrappy necessarily, because I know Knockhill's narrow, but you got involved with Croft and Woodhatch, and off he went.
Yeah, totally. Obviously, it wasn't how I wanted to do it. I think it was a bit of a case of 2 into 1 don't go. It's one of those. We'll see what the stewards say about it. But after that, really, it was putting up a defence from Will. I mean, the guys in this championship are so quick on this simulator. It's so close to real life. The last little bit, there's a certain few things you need to do that I haven't quite mastered yet on this game. But, any of these boys at the front could certainly jump in a real car and give me a run for my money, I think.
And I gather that's your last outing in this championship, because you've got real-world commitments that will clash with the Donington and the Brands Hatch finale.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. I mean, especially the next one out. I'm actually racing a 116 trophy at Brands Hatch with one of my friends, so that'd be good fun. It's a fantastic series, so and hopefully will set me up well for the touring car racing. It's super competitive as well. So yeah, that'd be good fun.
Well, Charles, we'll see you in touring cars at the end of April, but for now, well done. Best result of the season. Great way to round off the campaign. Well done.
Yeah, thank you very much. Speak to you soon.
Charles Rainford then taking second place. Right, we expected action. Knockhill did not disappoint, did it? Great racing all day long. And Luke McEwen's first race, mega drive. Championship situation gets really, really interesting with just 2 more events, 4 more races to go, Paul.
It's wide open now, isn't it? And it's going to give us some tremendous racing. Donington Park, it's going to be a tricky one again to make some moves on around there in a couple of weeks' time. But certainly, business is picking up towards the busy end of the season. I can't wait for this.
Yeah, I mean, every time we go racing, we find another sort of hero, in a sense, don't we? Because there's the championship that we're enjoying in isolation, and then you get a drive like Matt Caruana having what we've seen today, that outstanding effort, or you have a Leo Gariboli win at Thruxton, for example. There's a subplot of people having their best results, and some of those are first-time wins. And then you've got the other story, which is Aidan Walsingham, who now just looks like, well, not quite a dominant driver in AM, but he's growing in confidence all the time, and he's going to be really hard to stop.
And I think he touched on it in that interview. He's learned from the start of the season where and when to make those moves and who to fight and who not to fight. And I think that's paying dividends for him right now.
Well, the story will continue in 2 weeks' time. Donington Park is going to be our next port of call. A little bit later, because we are going to be starting at 3 rather than 2, so it's an hour later in the day. But the racing is going to be as fierce as ever. Aidan Walsingham leaves Knockhill as the AM Championship leader. In Pro, it is still Sebastian Jobe versus Luke McEwen, and Matt Caruana is a first-time winner in the Porsche Rafa Racing Club Esports Carrera Cup of Great Britain. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time. From Paul Smith and David Addison, it's goodbye from Knockhill.